they're running with some of those changes. Some of it is.
We're heading on.
Oh, okay.
2 seconds, it should be started. Okay.
All right. Good evening. Welcome to the MSAD11 November 3rd Policy Committee meeting. Do quick introductions and get the meeting started. Tony Beat, Chair of the Policy Committee.
That's Marshall.
Sure.
Sorry. Yeah.
Jack, they're off. Teresa Garrett.
And Pat Hopkins, Superintendent.
All right. Meetings in order. We've got a fairly full agenda here. We have a discussion and a vote. It looks like we wanted to check on for creating a sanitation policy.
Yes, we had a request from a community member who thought that we should have a policy in place that indicates that soap dispensers should be a certain distance from the water, from any sort of sink, so that students are not walking around too far to access the soap. Kind of the backstory for this. So, why is this, right? What is, we've had at the high school a lot of vandalism. And there was a lot of vandalism of our soap dispensers. I think it was another one of those TikTok challenges, right? And so we had a lot of vandalism. So out of some frustration at the high school, they moved the soap dispensers. They moved them so that they could see them with the camera in the hallway, so they could see if anything was happening. In one particular section of the high school, in order for it to be visible from the cameras, it meant putting them outside in the hallway, which doesn't, I agree, that does not make sense. Students are not going to walk out into the hallway to get their soap and then go back in and wash their hands. So they have been reinstated, replaced back next to the sink. But understandably so, this person was concerned that with COVID and the flu and everything else going on, that students were not able to access soap. So for sanitary purposes, I believe this gentleman has a background with restaurants. I think he worked in a restaurant, so that they all have to follow certain codes and policies, and wanted the board to consider creating a similar code or policy. Personally, I don't know what that would look like, but I told the individual that I would bring it to you for your discussion.
Okay. Yeah.
How many soap dispensers were smashed?
I don't have that.
It wasn't like an isolated incident?
No, there were a few that were damaged, enough so that they were frustrated that they decided to move them.
Now, how far did they move them from like the sink? Like if the sink's here, where did they put it over the wall?
It depended on where the sink was in relation to the camera in the hallway. So if the sink was here and the door in the hallway was there, you could put the soap dispenser over there. In some places, and I'm thinking like the T-wing, that if you have ever been into the bathrooms in the T-wing, you have the sinks are here, then you have to kind of go out a little outlet to the hallway. So they put the soap out there. And I mean, I agree that that's not an okay place. And
Have they moved them back?
yes, they have been moved back. So
The food service is, you can't compare food service to a high school bathroom.
right,
There's no comparisons.
yeah,
at all.
I agree.
And if it's just the soap dispensers issue that's triggering the policy, I don't think it's a.
Yeah, the request is I would like to a policy in place that keeps schools, keep soap dispensers a distance that requires no walking, so we don't spread unnecessary germs, blood, vomit, etc. So
We've already done
they've already been moved back.
Has it been moved back? Let's see, I'm imagining we have a policy for food service. I know I've seen something about
We don't have a policy in food service on where dispensers
Yeah.
are. There's code
Yeah,
Right.
that they have to follow, right?
Yeah.
State, federal code. And so, what this individual learned is that there are no codes about the location of soap dispensers and things like that for schools. There's no local code, there's no state code. And so the recommendation would be to create a policy. I feel like I've addressed it.
Yeah.
Brought to my
And I
attention,
feel like
took
you've
care of it.
already handled it because you put the soap dispensers back where they were.
Right, I agree that they should not be in the hallway, that doesn't make sense.
And if you.
But I
if you-
understand the frustration of why it got to where, you know,
Oh,
to have them put
definitely.
them in the hallway. Tired of every single day having them damaged, so.
and right, we don't have cameras in the bathrooms.
No, we do not have
On purpose.
cameras, no.
Why not?
Yeah, no, let's be really clear about that.
And so, yeah, I kind of lean towards, yeah, do we need a whole nother policy when this actually went through a working system, meaning it went, you know, I would imagine to the administrator and then to you, and then it's fixed.
It has been fixed.
Yeah, is there any other parts of the sanitation, was it just the soap dispenser, is there any other elements?
Reading it, it wasn't.
No, it was just the soap dispensers.
Yeah, anything else?
No, I don't disagree. I think that makes sense. It's been addressed.
Yeah. Do we need to bring a vote on not having a policy? No, we'll just move ahead. Issue addressed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Student handbook, the dances.
Yes.
Section.
Yes, so we are recommending a modification to the Gardner area student handbook as it pertains to dances. You can see here that the existing handbook identifies the Snow Bowl and the junior senior prom as the semi-formal and formal dances. And only in those situations are students allowed to bring students from other districts to join them. So if they have a boyfriend or a girlfriend from from another partner from another school district. And so what we would like to do is really delete the special identified dances and instead just reclassify it to say that it applies to any formal or semi-formal dances. That way there's some flexibility.
So get rid of the name Snowball and junior senior prom.
Yes, and just leave semi-formal and formal dances rather than identifying which ones. Because there's also, why this came up is it was a homecoming dance. And a homecoming dance, it was also a semi-formal. And so by identifying the specific types of dances, it technically could have prohibited them from being able to bring in, again, a date.
So what would you just do? All high school dances?
No, we would say that only for the semi-formal and the formal can they bring
Yes.
in, right? For any other type of, hey, Friday night, we're having a dance, then no, that would still be restricted just to Gardner area high school students.
And the names of the dances, those dances would still be, hold those names, it's just, this expands the flexibility.
Correct, correct.
All of them.
Now, Pat, I was a high school dance goer. Do you still allow, like, I know I would have cousins visiting and I would get special permission from the principal to bring my cousin. Do you still do that kind of thing or no?
Only,
Only for those
again, if it's a
formals?
semi-formal or formal, are you allowed to bring in someone from outside of the school?
Okay.
So you're okay with those changes? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. All right,
Substitute teachers,
substitute teachers?
GCGA, is that what we're on?
Mhm.
Yeah, oh. Sorry, I had substitute teachers in my virtual packet, and then AC, non-discrimination next.
It just wasn't, that particular one wasn't in alphabetical order for some reason.
Yeah, GCGA.
Well, maybe I may have just pulled up an older version, so I don't know why it's not in mine, but
Okay.
the issue with the substitute teachers, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, that under compensation, we identified exactly how much we were going to pay. The beginning of this school year, we set what the rate was going to be. It's different from that policy.
Mhm.
So rather than having a specific amount tied to the policy, we thought that the better approach would just be to say that the school board will set the annual rate. That way, we're not every year forgetting or having to remember to update the policy.
Sounds great.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yep,
Yeah, because I mean, this policy was, last time it was revised was.
Last year,
2019,
Right, right.
Yeah, it makes sense.
right, cool.
Okay, what was the code of that?
Yeah, that was GCGA.
GCGA.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I don't know why it's not on my list. Okay,
So,
now we get to AC.
AC.
Yeah. All right, so AC, non-discrimination, equal opportunity, and affirmative action. All right, the law has changed, and the law now requires that we indicate, for the purpose of this policy, that race includes traits associated with race, including hair texture, afro hairstyles, and protective hairstyles, including braids, twists, and locks. So I believe that's the only change, yes, that I had to add that to comply with law. So I don't know if anyone has questions.
What's a protective hairstyle?
Well, it's just that some students, based on their race, they may have a certain type of hairstyle or texture. And there was an incident a while back in a school district in Maine, in which a student had a particular hairstyle and was asked to cut their hair or to do something different with it.
I
I
get it.
don't recall all of the details, so that was the premise for this law being
Oh, my goodness.
adopted, so.
And that language is pulled right from the law, or
This was sent to me, yes, I am using this from Drummond Woodsum or Maine School Management, I did not create this language.
my only thing that I was gonna notice, but I'll leave it, is it uses including twice, and I was gonna use such as, but let's just leave it. I'm
Okay.
I'm not gonna do that.
Yes, I did not create this. Now, somewhere in here, I may have accidentally typed involving instead of including, but I've adjusted those. I made those mistakes. That was just a typing error.
Who's our affirmative action officer? It's her, right? Hello, I knew that.
It is Terry, and we are keeping her busy. So the next one, ACAA, the same thing. I believe that is the only change that was made in the entire policy where I needed to add that language. Same thing with ACAA-R. That language was included, and again, this is where it says involving, and it's supposed to be including. I've already made that change. So the correct version will be sent to the full board for consideration. CAB, same thing. I don't think there were any other changes there either. CABR. Again, I may have typed evolving, but I've corrected that. I don't think there are any other changes. So then we had to move to GCFB, recruiting and hiring of administrative staff. And again, that language needed to be included. I
Mhm.
also, under legal reference, had to make a couple of changes.
The name of it and then yeah.
Right, I needed to identify the 5 MRSA section 4576 to be main Human Rights Act. And then there were a couple of older sections that had been they're obsolete, so they were repealed or something. Okay, then under JJEA, this is one that Jack gave some feedback on. Would like to see academic dash oriented. That's in 2 places. And down in the second paragraph, to the second to last sentence, it should be boards with an apostrophe S policy. So I've made those adjustments.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hyphen.
But
title.
hyphen, I said
Yeah.
slash, and I hyphen, yeah.
Um, Cool.
So, okay? The next one, philosophy of athletics. I just reduced the number of MSAD11s, but there were no other proposed changes. JJIB. JJIB, if you look at page 1 near the bottom, where it says A, criteria for approval, I have eliminated assistant principal because really for athletic programs, it's just the athletic director. At one time, we had an assistant principal / athletic director, but we don't have that position anymore. So I just slashed out athletic assistant principal. So the comma after principal should be deleted, and rather than the slash, we need to say and the or the athletic director. And I would say and the, just so that you have the 2. I don't think that the athletic director should be making these decisions without kind of at least running it by the building principal.
Nice.
So there was, I think that's the only change in that particular policy from what's already in front of you. Okay, I'm gonna keep moving forward unless you tell me otherwise to stop. All right, under JJIBA, we have hiring and evaluations. Let's see. Under A, in the second sentence, I changed he, she to they. And my cross out of coaches was a little narrow. I forgot the E. Because it's just they coach, it's not, right?
Yeah.
So,
S is crossed out.
yeah, I caught the, right. So anyways, that has to be updated. Yeah, in the very next sentence, I didn't cross out his, her, to their sport. So that was a great catch. So that needs to be updated. And then the other one is in item number 3.
Yeah.
Another his, her that I missed.
Why wouldn't we have his, her, they?
It's just a plural and it covers all of them. So it's just all encompassing.
Yeah, I remember we had a conversation about it, that there's it's a plural, but it can also be a singular, yeah, right, that was it.
Yeah. Was it last month we talked about that? Yeah.
Um,
Or the month before, we
I
talked
don't
about it
know.
a while ago, yeah.
It's just an indeterminate program.
I just still see my English teacher rolling in her grave.
All right, then, if we're good with that, then we have sportsmanship, JJIBB. I think that there are no changes beyond what I already have crossed out in the policy that was distributed. So any questions with that?
Good to know.
All right, then JJIBC is relations with boosters. Again, at one time I got heavy-handed with MSAD11, so
No, you're right.
now, a few years later, I'm looking at it, and go, what was I thinking? That's crazy.
That's good to represent it.
You were on a roll.
Yeah.
Which board, that's all.
We could have very well left them all in there, really.
You could, it just seemed like, yeah, it's a little overkill, right? So, yeah.
It's cool.
We evolve, right? We all evolve over
We tried
time.
to.
So then we have detention of students, some feedback on this one. So again, the first paragraph, I missed a his, her. So that needs to be changed to there. And then we have typically used slash a lot in many of our policies. It's being recommended that we eliminate those, and so in this case, it would be teachers and administrators have the discretion. And then in the next section, it would be the students' parents or guardians will be informed, which,
Yeah.
I mean, that totally works for me. There is in the last sentence of that first paragraph, it says the detention will not begin until the parents are notified. It should say parents or guardians are notified. So I've already made that adjustment. And then in the last paragraph, it should be the superintendent or their designee versus just slash designee. It's the proposed change.
In the second sentence, as it is her, you want to be consistent and make it there.
In the second paragraph, second sentence,
Yeah.
yes. Yes, that is,
Yeah.
yes, I caught that. That has been changed.
So that joining slash is being phased out.
That is the current proposal. Really, that's your decision, guys, but that
Who's proposing that?
I don't.
Jack made the recommendation. He provided feedback on some of these policies. So
Yeah,
it's
and
a
I
great
don't know,
catch.
like, in most instances, like, I overlook all the slashes, and just for some reason, in this instance, like, it seemed to take away from clarity as opposed to just streamline and simplify.
Okay, that's helpful because I thought you wanted to kind of phase that out in all policies. No,
No,
okay,
I wouldn't, I'm trying, like, adopt the idea of changing as little as possible, so long as it's as serving.
Right.
But that in that case, and sometimes we have two different sets of groups, three different sets of groups, and then sometimes we're saying it's an either or situation, sometimes it's both.
Yeah.
So I think maybe in that case, it has value to spell it out.
yeah. No, I agree in this, especially in this particular policy. I think it does provide the clarity. Okay. Everyone else out of that one? Okay, then next is JLCA. Don't have any additional changes other than what is already in your packet. What's okay with that? And the next one, I'm recommending that you rescind. Students with HIV and AIDS, we're in a different place now. And when this policy was first mandated, at one time it was mandated that schools would all have this policy. And it is no longer required, and I actually didn't even see it on the main school management database any longer. So I don't think we need to keep it. Instead, it would just follow any of our other health policies. Okay, you good with that?
Yep.
All right, JLCDR would be medication administration on school field trips. Our policy was listed as an E. It should be just an R because it's an administrative procedure. So I made that change, and I think that is the only change.
And Pat, is this prescription medication or is this like aspirin or?
For the most part, this is going to be prescription, but depending upon the age of the student, we don't allow our younger students just to take aspirin. That would have to go through the nurse as well.
Yeah.
All right, then JLCE, I don't have any recommended change. That's for first aid and emergency medical care. And then the next one is the first aid administrative procedure. And just what's proposed, but you already see here, there are no additional agenda changes. Then, under JLDBD, the new code for that is really JLFA. So we need to change that. And this policy came directly from main school management. There's a question, Jack asked a great question. At the bottom of this policy where it's legal references, you see that there's some changes and some additions. And so Jack asked about 20A MRSA, the sections 5051A, that whole line, like that pertains to truancy. So if that pertains to truancy, why is it in a child sexual abuse prevention and response policy? So I asked that question, and what I was told is that the reason is the connection to the definition of child abuse and neglect that appears in the Child and Family Services and Child Protection Act, which is entitled 22 of Maine statute. And it goes on to say that 22 MRSA section 4002(1) definition as used in this chapter, unless the context indicates otherwise, the following terms have the following meanings. Abuse or neglect. Abuse or neglect means a threat to a student's health or welfare by physical, mental, or emotional injury or impairment, sexual abuse or exploitation including under Title 17-A, sections 282, 852, 853, and 855, or deprivation of essential needs or lack of protection from these by a person responsible for the child. Abuse or neglect also means truancy under Title 20A, section 3272, and it goes on. So that's where it is. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I thought it was a great question.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks.
okay.
Right, the way things link here.
Yeah.
I would think with abuse that could fall with truancy, like if the child has marks that they wouldn't keep them home.
No, it's required for a parent to make sure their child attends school. And so if the child is habitually truant, that starts, yes, that means that maybe the parents aren't doing what they need to do to make sure that child gets to school.
And it does warrant a call from us at DHHS.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so next one is reintegration of students from juvenile correctional facilities. I don't know that I had any changes there, small one, couple MSAD11s. Oh, and I'll see that we do have the JLFE and the back to suspected child abuse. These are the forms that we have to complete. So they happen to be in policy because these are required by us. So we have E, which is the actual form. And then under R, these are the administrative procedure on how we go about notifying them, who's responsible, etc.
If we go back to E for a second, number 4 on that form actually says the notifying person contact DHS independently. And it should probably be DHHS or CPS.
Okay.
How do you get one in there?
No comment.
I know, right?
That was cute.
It's hard to keep to.
Yeah.
Very good at it. They are very good at it. They certainly keep me on my toes. It's awesome. Some of the things that, like, Jack, some of the things that you caught,
Yeah.
they've been in the policy for years, right? And these
I've
policies,
been-
we cut and paste them from somewhere else. So it's not like we're sitting there typing them. So who knows how long we've been like that. So you have a great eye. All right, so then we have JLIB, student dismissal precautions. Don't see any changes in there. Then we have employment of students. So this is one, Jack, that I was really confused by. So I went back to Mainstream Management, and the legal references that are here are identical to what they have on their website, okay, in their policy packet. What Jack is telling us is that 702, 704, they were repealed back in 2017. And then this is where I'm confused. The 773-775, is the 773 now 773-A to 775?
Section 773 was repealed and 773A was enacted. So
Okay.
773A to 775 still pertain.
Okay. But 702 and 704 no longer are
They don't
relevant.
exist.
Okay, all right. So I think we go with Jack and his recommendation, he knows. So that's right, that's what he does for a living. He knows best. So I've already made those changes in the background. Okay. Let's
Thank
see. JRA. Okay, so this one needed a bit more work. Let's see. So this one, let's see. Under directory information. Sorry. I want to be on R, not A. Okay. So I'm looking for the corrections. I'm like, I can't find them. I'm looking. I think we're all set with JRA as written.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So they keep track of the height and the weight For football, do they do a concussion, like, so they have a base to compare it to?
Yeah, we have an extensive policy
Good.
on concussion
It's
protocols.
been a long time since I've been in football.
Yeah, they have we have an extensive policy, and we have a provider from the hospital, right, who works with various schools, and so we contract, and we do a lot of the preliminary work, and should a student get a concussion, they work with that student and the coach and family, to make sure all of those protocols are in place, as well as courses with the local doctor. So, okay. And let's go to JRA, if that's a -E. And these are the annual notices that we have to send out. Okay. If you have any questions, let me know. If you don't, then it's R. The administrative procedure, there are a few things that we missed, that I missed. So under directory information, I don't know where you were, Tony, but when this policy was approved, you didn't notice that we had phonographs and videos on the internet versus photographs. How you missed that, I don't know. Maybe it was in the hiatus when you weren't
It
here,
could have
but
been.
that's a huge oversight, Tony.
Yeah, you think. Yeah, I think it was when I was.
I don't know how we missed that. That was clearly just a typo.
It's just one letter, yeah.
Yeah, then in 3, it was like his, her that was missed, that should be there. And then it skips to 5. So I've changed that to 4 and I renumbered. And you didn't catch that, Jack. So those have now been renumbered. Under 4/5, right now we have parent means parent. Yeah, that's actually what is in the main school management policy. The recommendation is to say parent means a parent. And continuing on in the next line where it says, or individual acting as a parent or guardian, provided that there shall be, recommended that it is changed to a legal guardian or an individual acting as a parent or guardian, as long as there is a presumption that a parent has the authority. And I do think that that reads better. 6 becomes 5, 7 becomes 6. Once we get down to number 3 on page 3, under request to amend educational records. And Jack, you did stump me for a little while. You sent me page 1 and page 3. Didn't send me page 2.
Page 2 is beautiful.
And I realized, I'm like, oh my goodness, are we missing an entire section? Where is that section? So I'm going through, I'm comparing policies, but what did I do? And then I realized page 2 is missing, like, phew. So on page 3, number 3, where I had changed he, she to they, I didn't grab the does and change it to do. So there's that correction. Under F, disclosure, I take out an MSH just again because I have so many, and I just switched it to the district. And Jack's comment was, if this change is important, there are many places in this document that it needs to be updated. It's not important. It's just, again, I felt like I was being heavy-handed with the MSADs. but we can change it back and keep it as MSAD. At this point, that would be easier than updating everything to the district.
I'm okay with the phrasing.
With MSAD,
Either leaving it as is or the change that's there, the district works. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's not wrong there at any point, it just makes it inconsistent within the document.
right.
But doesn't follow that you absolutely can't do it.
Whatever you guys want, they're your policies.
Yeah, I'm okay either way. I guess maybe the consistency would be good. Start to switch it back.
No, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
All right, under 3, I listed his, her. And then that same section towards the end, where it says, in parentheses, you have improving health or medical staff and school units designated law enforcement personnel of any members of the MSAD11 school board. Instead to have it say members of the board versus MSAD11 school board. So there's that. Yeah, on the next page, the beginning of the page, we don't have volunteers who serve on official boards. So I was eliminating for volunteer serving, and I didn't grab the comma, so I need to grab the comma after. Do that. Under health, number 5, I switched RSU to MSAD. I missed a space after 11 before May, so that just needs to be corrected. And the last line after the word individuals, adding a comma there. How do you put this comma without probably concern? Under by
On page 5, on the second line, are we gonna keep the word serving?
Cool.
Yes, I thought so. Let me find it again. It's on page 4.
Page 5 in the second line. Yeah, parents or students serving officials.
Have 3 continued.
Sorry, I was looking at for 3, not 5. Yes. I do think serving should stay.
Okay.
Sorry, so I will retain that. Under fees for copying records. Yeah, there's a little bit of an issue here on that last line on the page. You have parent plural and eligible student singular. So it should be a parent. And then the same is true on the top. They switched to plural students, but they kept parent as singular. So that needs to be plural, so we'll fix that. And then it says, so parents and eligible students who are unable to pay such fees will not be denied access to education records. But then it says, this fee, however, will not prohibit a parent eligible student the opportunity to access records if they are unable to pay. So that's redundant, right? It says the same thing. So we'll cross that last sentence out. Then under 5 of that same page, we have another discrepancy between a plural parent and a singular student. So we'll fix that.
So the question that I would have is, for example, if they wanted to make copies of the students' records, typically, depending on the student, I guess, what the answer to the question. How many copies are we talking? We're talking like 200 copies of a record, or are we talking 10 pages? What, you know, what do we?
It depends on the student. It absolutely depends on the student. Some students, we have a box with their records. You have other students and they're very, very narrow. And of course, we have a lot of our records are now electronic.
Yeah, I
So
guess. My point to be 25 cents a page is pretty rough. And then if somebody can't afford it, they're not gonna tell you they can't. But I just think it's kind of petty. I don't know, the 25 cents a page, I think is a little high.
You think they're more like 10 cents?
Yeah, or not, or nothing. I mean, how often does it happen?
it doesn't happen that frequently.
Right, so, I mean, I wouldn't say, I hate to use the word shaming, but, you know, if somebody can't afford it, I mean, I guess we can't afford 10 cents a page these days, but I don't know, I think that's something you could. It's not like it's a Freedom of Information Act issue. It's just a student record. That's my thought.
I agree. I think 25 cents a page if you have a box full of pages is
Especially if it's for the betterment of, if you're providing it because it's something that, you know, the students needs to, it's a positive thing, let's just say.
There's no charge to search or retrieve records. We're obligated to provide copies of education records upon request.
or maybe
That doesn't happen very often, and it doesn't represent like a significant amount of person hours or anything.
Yeah, you're saying, right, if there's a concern about, you know, people's access to resources and, you know, 25 cents a page might be prohibitive. Of course, we do have that piece in there that they wouldn't be denied access to that. I guess I'm sort of looking at the fee there as a way to, you know, in a way it would keep it from being frivolous, right? Because you'd be like, oh, I gotta come up with something, or I gotta talk to someone if I really want it. So it's not gonna be, you know, a frivolous ask.
but if it's
I mean, do you
not
typically
common
get frivolous
now,
Yeah,
requests?
I don't recall any requests in the current year. So I don't have a strong opinion on.
I would do
one
away
way or the
with
other.
it. I mean, it's not like it's 25 cents, even if it's, someone's gonna give you the district $30 for a copy of the record. What's that? They need it for a reason, it's not like they want their personal.
and for some people, $30 is a lot of money.
yeah.
I mean, they're paying enough for college, you know, college applications and such. These days.
You can bring your phone and take a PDF of every single one of those pages and walk out of it.
Scan it in on a scanner or the copy machine and email it.
Or couldn't it just be emailed to the parent? That's what you're asking.
Do we have, yeah, an option in here?
We do not, but that is definitely an option as well. We certainly scan lots of things to many people, you know, to parents, to others. It's really entirely up to you guys.
I mean, we get hung up on it.
I think that's fair.
Just to eliminate it.
Not digital option. Yeah, I think digital would be.
Well, if you say provide copies, that doesn't preclude you from making digital copies. It has to be a hard copy.
What if we just put in a line, we'll offer a digital copy. Charge.
you're gonna maybe charge, then you're gonna want,
Say what?
I want details.
We could just put in, the digital copy will be offered.
All due respect, I think you're over. I think either you
Okay.
don't charge at all, we lower the charge if you want, or you leave it as is, because I think with what you have written, there shall be no charge to search or retrieve, shall provide copies of education records upon request.
Yeah.
Period. If you eliminate, if you end it there, then there's no fee, and it doesn't matter how they receive the copies. It can be done electronically, hard copy, doesn't matter.
And how are you gonna decide who can afford it and who can't?
You won't have to.
We
That's
don't
my
have.
point.
Right.
Leaving it in, you have to.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna cross that out?
Cross it out.
All right. Because everything else was under one other change, and then it's down to number 5, but. Yeah, it just had to do with plural and singular. All right, so I'd say it's time to stop. But could we have, we accomplished a lot.
Oh, so
Could
we
we
need a,
have a motion to recommend it, all of these policies to the board? for consideration?
yeah,
I make a motion that we
Okay, send it to the board. I have some language somewhere, but send it to the board for a first read. So
send it to the board for first reading.
right, second. on that?
I'll send it. Do you need a second?
no, I had Teresa and Matt Marshall. So
Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor?
great, thank you.
Awesome.
All right, and your turn at 6:27. Great, thank you. Yeah, that was a lot. That was good.
We did good.
I didn't know that you get a lot.